a couple of names that we haven't really mentioned, and I'm sure we'll see when we head into Agent Select, because I'm sure they're going to play the Cypher,
already, yes, that's true.
is Devalasa and Wenz. So I'm really hoping that they bring through that Cypher kind of matchup here, especially Wenz putting up such a good performance on Lotus. And we do! Okay, I'm relieved.
And this time we have the deadlock on the other side.
Yes. Okay, that's a comp change, right? Because I think last time we saw Lateo play this, unless I'm tripping, they were on Sova.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. I do like this, I have to say. Yeah, especially with them starting off on the defense, and their defense win rate being a little bit lower than the attack side. So yeah, I think this is a strong pick to make here, changing to that deadlock.
Yeah, and hopefully this time around we can see more of the deadlock being that kind of initiator sentinel. So hopefully when we go to the attack, we can see her play and show us exactly why this pick can be also used as an initiator, to give you some space, to give you some openings, so that Berry can even shine even more. And I will be looking also closer to the synergy between Berry and the Breach, to see how much and how well will she be able to enable her.
Well, we're going to head over to our casters, because we do have Hazza and Cairo standing by. This is the last map we're going to hear from them. And then afterwards, Cairo is going to correct the wooden slats on his background because they're uneven and it's tilting me.
I beg.
I love that you've been called out for that as well. This guy, look, I had a better cam than him for like 3 years. Now he's mogging me. But the background, sort the background out, mate.
No, do you know what it is? Genuinely, I bought myself like a few bits of wooden slats, put them all up, and they gave me a faulty one, and it was like they arrived on like Friday, so I didn't really have time to get a new one in. But tell you what, there's plenty of time for these two teams to bring in new compositions, new ideas, and that's what's most exciting about this next map.
Yeah, I'm glad you got there eventually, right? Nobody cares, mate, about your background. In terms of this one, look, it's what we already were speaking about. Sunset, SK, haven't shown it, been a while. But how much cooking have they possibly done? It's Jolina back on the Neon. We've only seen her play it once so far this stage. It was typically Purity. And Blackhand starting on the defense for the third map running, with the double sentinel of their own this time. The gap is towards mid, and that's where SK Nebula will go looking first.
This was the side that SK struggled with the most when playing against G2, as to be expected. Taking position up through the top of the map and on towards the east side is pretty resistant free. And while this big duel in towards main, Lee's at least able to get one and keep those numbers in favour of SK.
See, even with the player advantage, SK looking to get proactive. Jolina needs to clear the corner. Lateo overlooked. Double kill picked up, and now the advantage has flopped the other way.
And it has, although Jade looking to keep things in their favour. They know where Lateo is, and the players descend upon her position. And now Proxima, who clutched up at the end of the last map, needs to clutch up once more, and both players are low. That's the one thing to note. First one free, second one close by, needs to get half, it has got it. And Devalasa looking to take a different approach into the smoke. It's like ships in the night, and unfortunately for Proxima, she was looking the wrong way, and still somehow wins out that fight with the Red Bull clutch.
I'm speechless. Devalasa is cursed in those 1v1s. She was the last player left the previous time that we saw Proxima clutch it. And even with her back turned, that is one to forget. Almost the perfect start for Blackhand. I think they like it when things get messy. Here it is again. She went for the one tap and missed.
That goes there.
As I was saying, but because of the context, how much of a heartbreaker that is for SK. From the comeback at the start of map 1 to the dominance on Lotus. Now, the first pistol round they found on their defender's side, Cairo. This could get very scary very quickly.
That it could. It's a very quick pop in towards the B side, the deadlock, and well, there's a Cypher utility here as well to delay. So players try and make their way out. Backside is being well held by Blackhand, and more reinforcements being called over. And well, when they do, there's players, there's bodies left from Blackhand. It's even across the board, but it's still pretty chaotic. A little bit brawly as they try to take backside. Blackhand hold strong, but SK come out on top.
Trades, trades, trades. That was the name of the game for SK. Force buy on the Stingers. They take backside control from beneath Blackhand. It was well played from Berry on the Bulldog here, but beyond those 2 kills, you immediately see the response. And Purity finding 2 of her own is what was required. So as much as we talk of momentum, we see an immediate stop to it, and a much needed one.
Yeah, that is true. First day of Game Changers, having a few technical issues, but overall, between these 2 teams, there's been issues across the board as well, in terms of how they've been playing off one another, in terms of consistency map to map, especially on the SK side. I mean, arguably for Blackhand as well, had a slow start, and then losing this round here could really upset that defender's economy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it already has. I'm wondering what the effect of this technical pause is going to be on following rounds, because it's always really hard to gauge where exactly a team is at and how they're feeling in the server. But it's such an important side to the game that maybe doesn't get talked about as much. The bootcamp environment, of course, is again something that we have to reference. We don't have player cams, but SK are all stationed in Cologne at the moment. That's an advantage that they'll have over Blackhand, who are playing online. And, you know, honestly, when we speak about emotions and things like this, that's where you have to mature as a player over time. You look at the difference in age between the players on this Blackhand side. You know, you've got 16-year-olds and 27-year-olds on the same side of the server. That hierarchy, that mentorship is really important when the going gets tough in situations like this.
That it does, mate. That it does. And you know, like there's plenty of experience on the SK side, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Just the amount of stages that they have between them. GCC experience, Game Changers champs for Jolina. Jada's IGL. This is a role which she has bedded into over time, the last couple of years. We've seen her go from being a duelist player when she debuted with Ascend to, you know, initiator, just playing that as a second caller, to someone who is, you know, calling the shots all the time. There's always, you know, fit that mold, I think. But hopefully we'll be back in game in just a little bit. A player restarting a PC. Once that is fixed, we will be with you.
Yeah, 100%. You know, sometimes we go through these things, but with that being said, Blackhand on the other side of things and what they have to work with, I think Berry, being so young, but leading the line in terms of performance as well, right? So a couple of shotguns being thrown into the mix here, those being the Buckies. Where do they get positioned in the map? And is it going to be towards holding elbow? No, it's a stack towards the B side.
Well, one of them's elbow in the form of Lateu. The sole anchor of A kind of realizes, actually, okay, there's a little bit more space here. I'm just going to take my chance, take an orb. That's one step closer to the ult. Wondering if SK would have been tracking that through the scoreboard and working out who exactly this is. But a very dangerous angle up close with this Bucky. Maybe doesn't want to overexert herself, and that seems to be the case. The timing is good as the drone comes in.
Bucky hidden as well, only seen the classic. SK, they know one part of the puzzle, but they'll be questioning themselves, where is the rest, what's towards B? And if you move towards B with the Cypher setup as well there, you could be moving into a real big problem that you have to try and clear out, and it feels as if SK are fully committing to this.
Yeah, and Blackhand are playing for a backside flood. They're not just holding this control in a static position, they're ready to go. The stun and paranoia come through, setting up the play. Ben's only getting one with the Bucky. not quite gonna cut it.
One enemy
Mateo's in the back lines now, beyond the trap, but can't find the kill. It is collected quite comfortably by SK in the end. And with a plant coming in after time, Jade has her ult for the next.
Yeah, I would have to agree. The fact that SK managed to get through this without losing much either, a couple bits of chip damage, you only need to buy up shields and utility, is going to make that attack side even more stronger as we move through the rounds. Blackhand, Cypher set up towards that B side, and you can see that the Cypher moving towards A, obviously wanting to try and avoid the null command that Jade has.
Blocking movement.
That's a nice detail. Have to see SK getting ready to fan out of top mid, and I think that's going to take off most of the Sentinel utility. Doesn't matter which side of the map you hit, it's back to the same execute that they went for on the pistol. Snaking through Link with leftovers behind them. Purity to pick up the pieces, but there's nothing left. Unless Jolina can salvage a couple, and she does. That's going to be Jade back up on her feet. And Purity threading the needle through the middle with the last couple of kills top mid. Lateo is all that's left. She hears the steps towards backside of Jolina jumping up and down, but it's just bait on the end of the string. Purity reeling in 3 kills, and SK up with 3 rounds of their own.
They are. That was the rifle round that they managed to maneuver around. I like the fact that even after losing 2 players, SK looked to fight back. And I mean, that's what we saw on Peril, right? Being able to fight their way from disadvantages back into the round. And the fact that Jade's easily picked up is a saving grace. Now, another round where we're going to see Blackhand try and stack one side of the map. How does SK try and find out where this information is?
Mateo with the Bucky. No comment. That was ambitious, to say the least, I think. Kind of hoping that the round would transpire in the same way that it did before, where there wasn't anybody taking garage control early, but that's exactly what SK do.
On top of that, Blackhand have now moved their positions from backside to on-site. They know there's bodies close by, but there's time to work with, and SK are making sure to use it. Still have that Hunter's Fury if you really wanted to clear close corners that way, but probably waiting for Lisa, to have that information dart, most importantly, right?
First 40 seconds have transpired, so there was a chance to try and re-clear, but Blackhand take this timing themselves. Flood back through the space, but look at Purity sprinting over towards B and calling to the rest of her team that this space is clear. Taking a couple players with her, in fact. It's plenty of damage. 1.5 is what she ends up with. It's all just softened them up for Jolina and Devilassa to combine. A little bit rough around the edges, but SK Nebula won't care how the round is won, just so long as they get it on the board, and they have done.
Yeah, Blackhand immediately timing out after that, with a few big plays attempted, and I say attempted is the key word, as you just see it on your screen. It was nice to get the neural theft in, you get the information, you react upon it. It's concrete stuff rather than a guessing game, or probabilities, I should more say. And SK do well to play off one another. Big rifle round coming up with big ultimates to be used on either side. Whatever both teams decide to build upon will be interesting.
Yeah, and to break down what Blackhand were trying to do on the previous round, Lateo knows that if she can get out with the ult orb there, she would have had the annihilation. And the change-up that we see on the eco round for them is that she isn't soloing the right-hand side of the map, and there were players behind it. SK Nebula, regardless, still with a slow pace, playing to the beat of their own drum. And as much as those ults for Blackhand could prove to be resourceful, SK Nebula have some of their own, and I think the onus is almost on them to make that play happen. When you have the Hunter's Fury, when you have the overdrive, it's sort of it's at your own tempo, really.
I would agree. Pings towards the A side of the map for SK, maybe pathing through elbow, but there has always been a player towards the Ivy side on the left. Out of main, Jolina accelerating extremely far forward, and SK's pacing here has caught Proxima off guard. Now you have to look towards the two players on site. Berry with a position of her own to work with, and she's got the pick.
Oh, and Namir has found one on site as well. The stun has stopped Jolina from getting out. And Annihilation has been committed to try and recapture a player back, and so long as she remains in the corner, Jolina could have been caught, evades it, gets visual on Lateo, still a freeze.
Here we go.
That's what you think, mate, as Jolina's just sent it. And Blackhand have responded. Most of this round has just been 1 versus 1s. Pretty scrappy affair overall. And Jade decides, hey, listen, I don't want to go anywhere near this A side of the map. The step's being heard, the players are starting to move, and Jade has to break her way through this door.
Fortunately enough for her, removes the cam ahead of time. Needs to get rid of the trap, but it's just going to sit inside it, get caught twice. Finds the plant though, sets up a 1 versus 4. Is this out of her ballpark? Probably, but let's see. It's Jade after all.
Probably, but she can. Peeks out, she can, and that's the answer. Blackhand are able to double up their round count.
I mean, forgive me for calling it a freeze, but I have to say it was a very stop-start from SK there in terms of how they looked to try and take the A control. Berry did really well to read out Devilassa's positioning late. She was joining up with the rest of the pack to make the play on A, but not quite getting the value out of the ults that were invested there, SK Nebula, whereas Blackhand, they put 1 Annihilation into it, and all of that just to clear space. They have 4 to fall back on here as they finally get their second on the board.
Yeah, it did feel a bit like Kangaroo Petrol, the way that SK like to play with the pacing of the round. Berry did get caught by the flash, the players knowing about it. A showstopper invested, it didn't get the kill, and somehow the players walk out with their lives. Purity with 9 points of health to be exact. A little change up of the Cypher setup here. Devilassa looking to walk her way into the site and calling for support.
Runs in the form of Purity, who is doing so much with her second lease on life. It's criminal she's still alive here. But Mimir could put an end to things. The flank from main is everything. Jade has cottoned onto her though. And Proxima is left to clutch it out. We've seen stranger things. Is there another season of Proxima in the clutch?
A couple of smokes, TPs to work with, but so many players to try and get through.
Smoke goes down, baits out the molly, head of Jolina spotted, but the classic goes in and finds exactly what you'd expect with a burst. 5-2, SK extending their lead.
That they are. This is a nice play from
VAR. That's a joke.
And
right,
not only
fix.
that, Rolling Thunder invested, so this is a really heavy round for Blackhand in terms of like set plays and ultimates that could have been used for retake. And SK managed somehow by the skin of their teeth to get through it. So well played overall, but now Blackhand are going to leave themselves a little bit short-handed coming into the rounds moving forward. Just to know before handing over, Berry does have that operator in play now.
And we saw how useful that was to the defender's side on Lotus. To post double digits, a key component. And on B this round, behind the market smoke, should struggle to find effectiveness. Jade's already isolated Lateo on spot. Purity finding the next of those players, but as the smoke goes up, Purity does as well. Deleted 4 versus 3 situation. Blackhand waiting for this ult to expire before the retake.
You have to retake with an operator and a sheriff. This is not looking good at all for Blackhand.
Berry does have them boxed into default though, so SK goes searching, and it seems to work out. A 1-for-1 is enough for now. And Devilassa will have the final details to make it so. 6 rounds for SK, 1 foot in front of the other. They are making great strides towards taking this home in the second half.
It's the fact as well, right, that we look at the halves that we've had, and it's been dominant from every side, right? 9-3 half on Peril to start things off. Then it was what, something like a 8-4 or some, 8-4 on the second half as well for SK to close that out. Then the 10-2, as you said, it continues to be dominant as we move in towards sunset. 4 players stacked here for Blackhand once again.
Jolina clearing with the Outlaw, creeps closer and delivers a bullet to Leteu's doorstep. Outlaw still in play, looking to punish a little bit more here. The stuns go both ways. Nobody can shoot straight, but Jolina's still finding one. Mimir another back, answering in kind, making it a 3-on-3. SK Nebula have often reacted through middle and back to B, but Vens has been able to close the gap a little bit here. Only a classic in her hand, how much can she do? Enough? For now it looks like. And it's actually going to get away with the gun.
Not only that, the neural theft activated as well, so you know exactly where SK are going to go. But they're going to try and fake out that they're going to B with the plan to finish on A. Jolina is low, has the spike in the back pocket, needs support through
30 seconds left.
And with time so low, how much will SK actually have to get this spike down?
I mean, Berry has the nade off of this immediate contact from Vens. They've heard the ult orb get picked up. I mean, sure, you could use the neural theft here, but everybody knows that this is an A execute, and there's simply not enough time to make it happen. The nade from Berry has split up the 2 players. The spike is the last one to hit the neck of the site, but Jolina has broken it in half and kept that streak going as SK have their 7.
Far too close for Comfort Hazard, far too close. The fact that we see Blackhand and like make it so close, players just getting caught off guard, not realising where people could be taking positions. And overall, Blackhand also finding the limits to the setup of SK and where they can poke and prod it and put players into position, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think from this position here, Blackhand almost on their last legs of this defender's side. Sure, they could force up into one of the final rounds, but it's Leteu again, met with multiple players in the smoke of her opponent. She takes away 2, and post-mortem lends an advantage to the rest of her team.
Cypher set up. You've got to be looking at Vens to get something here.
And blinded out up close, she will. That's Jade taken out. And that advantage maintained so far as Blackhand are concerned. Spawn-sided plant set up. There's a flank coming in.
Exactly, and it's 2 players. It's the Raze and the Breach, and there's still utility to work with. Proxima needs to hold on towards CT.
Lisa didn't want to stick out the drone any further. Compromised on site. Not able to get one. Or tee up Purity either. It's just a single kill back in the conversation for SK on round number 10. Blackhand breaking the balance and picking up yet another pivotal one here.
I like the Breach pickup in the way that it's been playing. It's been given Blackhand a lot of agency to go and take these fights. Sure, when we look at the round count, it isn't as good as what it would seem. But the way that Blackhand are trying to play around it, these stuns, most importantly, have been pretty spot on for the most part. As we look to this round, Showstopper available, as well as that Annihilation, so there is a set piece that could maybe be worked for Blackhand.
Start things off by taking the B main control again. Proved to be useful in the previous. SK in retaliation head in the direction of Market. Mimir is who they end up picking up. And with the ult in to a solo Purity, she's a dead woman no longer walking. Devilassa has found Berry in B main. It's a little all over the shop, but SK Nebula are able to regroup, and now A bound. They head into stacked Sentinel utility and a rotation that looks to match it.
What they do? Blackhand will be a little bit delayed overall, Hazard. And, well, Lisa has a full belt, and so does Jade. So this execute should be pretty straightforward.
Netting from Lateu doesn't catch on to any player, but the traps have done their job. The stall is in play. Blackhand set up for the retake, and SK trying to invite it, tapping the spike on the ground to see if they can bait out a response from the defenders, but they just don't budge. There is little utility left to retake this control from Blackhand. Might just be waiting for Lateu's net at this point in time. Lisa's gone off on a solo mission, trading information with Proxima. So standoffish. Nobody's made a move yet.
Yeah, you're waiting for something to come back online, and that GravNet has for Lateo, so here we go.
Drops into backside, Jade caught and giving away the information, but it sets up the crossfire. Lisa's already found a couple and sends in her drone for good measure. Devalasa didn't need to swing, could have just sprayed through the smoke, but commits herself to the site anyway. And for the first time, she wins the 1v1 onto Proxima when it was so desperately needed. And 8 secured for SK.
That is it. The 8 secured, keeping that gap at a distance. I was just going to say, like, sure, Devalasa wins it out with a classic, but it's not without losing Lisa. If that spray had went any other way, it could have easily been a 1 clutch. Now,
I was expecting it. I was honestly expecting it at this point.
It could have been the case, man. But with this last round being so important, an 8-4 half is an absolute chasm, a canyon compared to 9-3, and the pace change towards B main. Proxima holding on with the support of her teammate, but it's Berry's ultimate finding 2 that upsets this round.
Not only does she get the first, she gets the extra one that she was promised many rounds ago as the showstopper is back up and active in her hands. Still roaming around tiles. This should be a free one onto Lisa if she doesn't turn her head. And Berry is just waiting to take the timing off of Ven's contact, who is never going to see Lisa, wraps the full way around. And all of a sudden, there's a conversation to be had of SK in this round. They only trail by 1 player.
Oh, Lateo's been caught as well.
It's a 2-on-2.
That's massive. And you've got the Hunter's Fury, and Jade with this plant gets the null command. So things, the chips, all the odds in SK's favour. It's whatever they do with it now. Lisa has no way in through market because the door was closed. So if she decides to break it, position given away. Jade making sure to clear all the way through market. And Blackhand have no idea about how infested this B site is with SK players.
Yeah, Jade walking the tightrope but clearing out all of the space. They play together to clear it, but Lisa left alone has done everything by herself. A quad kill now, Cairo, and just 1 away from giving SK their 9th.
That's it. Oh, getting the ace. It's Jade that will find it, and it will be a 9-3 half. But can SK do better than what they did in Peril and finish this one out quickly?
That's what we want to know. Anything but clean on the last couple. Blackhand with some of the right ideas and how they wanted to fight towards the end of this defender's side, of which they've started every single half so far. Another attack comeback required, and they'll have to close it or they're going home.
Next time, on the heavy machinery.
The money in the bank. Hit you with the
A tall order for Blackhand to stay in the playoff stage here in the second stage of Game Changers EMEA. First time we've seen them this deep into the competition from contenders up until this point. But SK standing in front of them on Sunset. It's looked pretty good so far, Cairo. They didn't want to show the tape, but from what we have seen, it looks good.
That's it. A massive improvement from G2 when they played it last. 93. We've been here before. SK do not want to make the curse come alive once again. Lateo, the only player up towards the top of mid, and has had a pretty decent information gain there. They've found that no one's up there, knows that they're probably SK are being proactive, so it's straight into the B site. But SK, they've given it up completely. They want to play retake, Kaza.
The trap is still in place, so the question on my mind is, do they clear Proxima? She's pushed so far up and there are players either side of this. Devilassa solo, but the retake coming in from main.
Yeah, Devilassa has a big job to hold on to CT. She's at least got one, kept numbers in SK's favour. But the main push comes from main, and Jade being the lone player from market. Blackhand need to hold on to backside, and they're doing so successfully. It's up to Lisa, who gets the first, but now the Raze in play. The nade is good, but Lisa's health isn't, and she's up against Berry, who's always been good in clutches and rounds when it comes to fragging, and she makes good of her team's promise of a round.
Yeah, so far in this series, we've seen the pistols go either way. The spoils shared, on each and every map. But this is the first time we've seen a team pick up both pistols, and it's Blackhand that do it. A necessary start for them on Sunset.
It's going to be big for bringing this one back. It's exactly what happened on Peril, if you remember correctly. Straight into the next round. Look at SK. Deposited Devilassa deep in towards mid. Lateo with the job of clearing her out. And, well, a stinger up this close, you would favour them to S-block, but the timing's insane.
Oh, it's not even the timing. She didn't clear the corner completely. So Devilassa gets away with murder into another retake. Backside control for Blackhand. But this is the entry point that SK Nebula are looking to use. Gonna speed things up once that door is broken. Nobody mark it, unfortunately enough.
Still a paranoia and Raze utility. In fact, there's a lot of utility for Blackhand in this post plan. So if they really need to delay, they'll have exactly what they need, and that's what you see being thrown out, right? The players of SK need to find a different way to entry into the site, and when they do, Blackhand deal with everything sent their way. It will almost be a flawless round. Only 2 players dropped, and a very successful round to move into the bonus.
Yeah, you know, not the strongest weapons. This one for VOD review, I'm sure. It's just a bit of micro there.
One enemy remaining.
In terms of SK and what they did well, retaking the market control before setting up the retake, it wasn't the best weapons that Blackhand brought out. So Bulldog, Phantom, Vandal, actually not too bad in the end. But this is a requirement should they look to stave off SK and really get back into the game, as it's B under threat again.
Devilassa's just standing in front of the utility as well, so she gets caught out, easily enough dealt with, and that B site should be for the taking. They'll get front site at least, but Jolina holds on to back.
Yeah, and then retakes market all by herself, doing it solo, and shots not landing onto Lateo. Player blinded up from main. It's a fantastic paranoia coming through from Proxima, but Jade has restored order. And SK now setting up with players cornered on the Blackhand side. There's surely nowhere to go here for Lateo. Double digits will be secured. And SK do exactly what was required of them. This retake is a success.
Double digits found, big one to get. I mean, it was the bonus round, but there was some key investments. That's the one thing to know. and SK, now they get majority of the rifles through to the next one. So when we look towards how the setup looks, I mean, you've got to remember a lot of these rounds, or the first 3 rounds, have ended all on B, right, Hazza? So where do we go next? What does Blackhand deem as important? Seems as if it's going to be towards that A side, where we have seen the KO knife being thrown a few times, and that's why we're seeing Blackhand stand so far back.
Devalasa deals with her counterpart early. But A is where the first fight is really coming in. Purity with 1. Stun Jolina walks to safety. Be clearing with the overdrive. Jade's out of flashes, so can't send her any further forwards. And that's where the opening engagement ends. 30 seconds in, both teams giving up A lobby as Blackhand look to go back to B yet again, as they have done every round so far.
Something that Lateo consistently does well is try and push the issue, right? Try and see if they can find a gap, but they're walking back into the stack, and again, well, Lateo might be under fire, or maybe she's the one doing the firing. Players dropped, Jade trying to get one back, but she's being caught by the ultimate. And this round, which looked to be fairly well called by SK, has been dismantled by the leader of Blackhand.
Lateo's done so much there, and on 1 HP, there should, I was going to say, be one more. Maybe I was just a little too gassed up that she makes the play. Devalasa brings us back down to earth. But yeah, talking about the macro there, I think it was sort of fairly well played by Blackhand in general. This B site has been a priority for them. Double Senti setup, difficult to retake at the best of times, but they've still been quite aggressive in how they, you know, support that. SK themselves looking for kills a lot of the time and getting punished for it.
Yeah, I honestly thought that what we would see was Lateo go and explore A again after she heard SK actually leave that space, but doesn't matter. Give her a chance to go and brawl her way through the round, and she'll do so successfully. That Phantom hitting like a truck.
Absolutely.
On to the next we go.
That we do, and it has to be the mentality of SK Nebula here as well. Half bite. They walk the line with caution. Every last penny squeezed out into this round. Bit of a compromise as A has the support of the Cypher setup. Devalasa with Jade by her side. It's the bot that gets caught first. And oh, Devalasa finds 2 shots from the Sheriff. Brilliant work from her, and a serious chance of an SK retake.
And not only that, a serious chance that we could see this Rolling Thunder used. You can already see it being primed by Mimir, and that's because of those 2 shots. This round hangs in the balance between the 2 teams. It's just that Blackhand have the better weaponry, or so you would think.
The ult goes in towards Link, but the retake is coming in through the alleyway. And so outburst SK into the site. The smoke is held. Jolina gets her double. Benz needing to be the hero, but Jolina the one who dons the cape in round 17. A triple kill which sends SK up to 11.
I want to call it a blunder, but I don't think it is realistically from Blackhand, right? They get caught off guard by heroics from Devalasa. Maybe you could argue the spacing wasn't great, but that feels really harsh to just put it down to that. I mean, that's fight back in, the Rolling Thunder not hitting. I guess that's where the biggest blunder is for Blackhand.
In moments like that, it's so difficult to point the finger and say, oh, this was a glaring error, any kind of a mistake. Devalasa has been kept quiet at moments throughout this series. But when you get a double on a round as impactful as giving your team an 11th, which is the difference between being right on the edge of closing a map and still feeling like there's work to be done, absolutely huge. Second time out for Blackhand. The final opportunity that they'll get to deliberate with Nofet before a potential overtime. It evaded them on the first map, and it may very well do so on the third and final here as well.
Yeah, that's the big thing, right? This is the most important. Essentially a best of one to decide who moves through into this next round of playoffs, and buy yourself a second life as well. That cannot be mistaken.
This goes here.
If you go out here, you are out. If you win, you get that second chance in the lower bracket, as that's where it begins. That's going to be a taken towards B main, but as you can see, SK actually put players committed, and Devilassa, who's got a new lease on life, gets the kill. And not only that, neuro theft as well, so you know exactly where players are.
And the setup is tailored towards market too, so Devilassa has the freedom to fight main solo, takes down the spike, has the support. Where do you go if you're Blackhand? Into the fire and flames, of course. SK have taken 12. It is all but done here. The reaction was forced, the hand was forced, pardon the pun, and Devilassa punishes them for it.
Not only that, right, we've seen the timeout come through from Blackhand already, but SK, they had their chance to talk about things, they changed the pace up, they changed up how they wanted to play this map and this defensive half, being more present in B main, catching players off guard. And yeah, that was a big piece, like, in terms of the showstopper used as well. These ultimate rounds for Blackhand haven't been the most successful.
The desk talked about the talent pool widening, stage on stage. Game Changers has continued to evolve, but where you see the difference between a team seeded 6th, Blackhand, and SK 3rd, narrowly missing out on that first round bye in playoffs, it's just in situations like this, the decision making, the setup, Purity may very well go down with the A side of the ship here. As she replenishes the smoke, you're just waiting for Blackhand to pop out the other side.
I know exactly.
Yeah, maybe a little bit too advanced. Gives away her position, gives away the A side of the map. Well, with that being said, Vens is combined. That's a lovely flash, but it's Jade's own flash that actually set up Vens to get that kill. And well, that spike can go down with a 2-player advantage for the attack.
Yeah, very cheeky on the other side of the wall, but with Jade gone, there is key utility missing from this retake. Devilassa, the next to get removed. Potentially, the call here for SK is to save, but I'd like to see them do some damage on the way out, because the money for Blackhand is not stable at all. They opt against it, in fact. But everyone can rebuy in the next round, and, well, Blackhand can't.
That's true, but you weigh up the odds of giving away ultimate orbs, but especially when Lateo has that annihilation, and I mean, she is the one player that is going to go hunting. But overall,
that's literally it, right? That is the one difference.
Yeah, exactly. And do you know what? It can be a big piece. We've seen it get the value from round on round. With that being said, I mean, yeah, Purity doesn't need to be playing this far forward. Has the Omen ultimate as well. Would have liked to have seen maybe play like more of a shoulder peek.
Sure. I think, you know, it's not egregious. It's just the micro details that get punished by Blackhand there. And into the next round, wondering what that extremity control looks like. It is far more regressed, playing for the information instead. That's the adaptation from SK. You've got Lisa towards B main with all of the Sova util, and a spy cam cutting across from elbow on A. So nobody has to go reaching their hand out to find a fight this time. And in fact, it's the contact of Lisa that is setting up a play to fight into B main, should it happen. She lies elsewhere though.
Yeah, Jade getting caught off. Berry's satchels, maybe not getting the most advanced movement, but that's not what matters. It's the rifle at the end of the day. Devilassa puts herself on an island, and unfortunately, no way of getting back. Stranded. Blackhand, out of somewhere, have found what they needed to bring themselves back into this half. And Lisa, once again, is going to have to save.
The 6-round gap now becomes 4 for Blackhand. as SK are just waiting to close Sunset here. As you say, there are ultimates up and swiftly arriving. The player on your screen, Lisa, just one away from the Hunter's Fury. Jade still with a null command, but blindsided by that push up mid from Blackhand. Not something which we'd seen them do at all. The setup for the defense was inclined towards B, and that's where Lisa's going to have to stand her ground at the end here, as Lateo is just looking to hunt for this final gun to wipe off the board. Can't. There's money beneath the attack. That will not be an issue now for the remainder of the rounds that they play in this series, perhaps even playoff stage.
Carefully.
True. The other aspect to this, moving into the next round, we just got a glimpse of it before heading into the replays, is that we are going to see Jolina's operator introduced. SK going to time out before and just talk about how they want to set up for the round coming, because, well, SK have 2 timeouts, Blackhand have none. And SK, well, they only really need 1 round to finish this out. There's ultimates that they can fight for. Lisa's could come online if they get an ultimate orb. Not only that, Jade has had this null command for a few rounds now. And I think as well, from the coaching point of view, I think to just sit down and be like, hey guys, look, listen, I know we're close to finishing out this map, but let's take a deep breath and stop getting caught out, because realistically, that's what has allowed Blackhand to steamroll these last 2 rounds.
Yeah, Blackhand have looked really efficient with how they've converted their openers. And something else to mention, the fact that SK call a timeout means that we do get to hear from the Blackhand coach again on their side of the server. Another 60 seconds to just work out, negotiate, converse with one another. What is it that we want to do here? Because SK can show as many different setups as they like. Only one of them needs to work. They've got 4 opportunities. This one of the best. Money starting to slip away from them.
Bomb buddy out. My territory.
Annihilation to try and fight Purity. Gets one, but obviously traded out through the ultimate. But it's the reaction from SK has a look at this.
Yeah.
The trade comes through, but the SK are ready to fight on site, but also to flank.
Yeah, it was Ven's the Cypher, so there is no flank protection right now. Blackhand have to be aware of the fact that they could be encroached upon if they're not careful, and it's already starting to happen. Lateo down to 10. Things are falling apart, Cairo. As I said, it only takes 1 round, and this might be it.
It looks like it is going to, as the players try and fight out of elbow. There's utility to stall out, and a timing for Jolina to activate as SK send Blackhand out and themselves through for a rematch against GX.
Coming into this, SK were always going to be favourites. The first stage and top 4 finish was good, but only just missing out on second in groups.